Hello. Hello guys, good evening. Welcome back to another video of my Premier League predictions for week 27. I know it's getting late, but let's do them quickly. Right, before you get to the YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. Right, first up, Aston Villa against Leeds. Aston Villa are pushing towards UEFA Champions League qualification as they now welcome an informed Leeds United to Villa Park in Birmingham on Saturday afternoon. Aston Villa coming into this one on the back of a 3-1 defeat at home to Newcastle United in the fourth round of the FA Cup last weekend. That may well added Unai Emery's side as they challenge for a top three finish in the Premier League and a battle in Europe. In the league, it has been an awkward start to the calendar year for the Villains, with frustrating defeats at home. Both Everton and Brentford pegging them back when they did appear prior to launch towards the title race. And Leeds, Daniel Farke was under pressure immediately after leading Leeds United to the Championship title this season, but just 2 defeats in their last 15 matches across all competitions. In their most recent outing, Leeds edged past second tier Birmingham City on penalties in the fourth round of the FA Cup, backing up from 2-0 down to share a 2-2 draw with Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. With home advantage, Aston Villa will be expected to dictate and dominate the most of this game, especially with their home advantage. However, 3 at the back of the counter-attacking style system of Frank and his lead side in recent weeks made visitors a threat in pretty much every game. So while Villa remain favourites, Leeds will believe they will still have a chance. I'm going for Leeds. I'm going for Villa with home advantage. I can see him at a tight game, but Villa wins it. Villa win 2-1. Right. We have an all-money ball affair between Brentford and Brighton over Albion, with owners Matthew Beman and Tony Bloom. Tony Bloom, known for their rivalry with each other. Brighton coming into this one on the back of a slender 1-0 defeat of 6th-tier Macclesfield in the fourth round of the FA Cup. As Moyes rose last weekend, courtesy of a late own goal scored by Macca centre-back Sam Heathcote. The Bees have enjoyed a surprisingly excellent campaign as they chased European qualification, having managed not only to deal with, but perhaps even excel after their turbulent summer last year, with plenty of key departures both and off the pitch. Brighton and Albion, on the other hand, appear to be in a very difficult position with the pressure growing on manager Fabian Herzler, despite the Seagulls sitting firmly in the middle of the table ahead of the weekend. Albion coming into this one on the back of a 3-0 loss at Anfield against Liverpool by 3-0. 3-0 in the FA Cup last weekend, extending their winless run of form to 6 matches across all competitions. These sides have more or less mirrored each other in terms of their progress and journeys in the last decade or so, but there is now finally a degrance this time round. Brentford appeared as though they, with their aggressive and physical approach, can crash into Europe this season. And their home form has been excellent, but Brighton on verging into dysentery look toothless, so a home win is to be expected. I'm going for Brighton win 2-1. Right, Chelsea against Burnley. Chelsea will fancy themselves to get the foot down and to put a convincing display here as they welcome relegation-bound Burnley to Stamford Bridge on Saturday. Right, Liam Rosenior has done an impressive job since the appointment in mid-January, but Chelsea continue with that emphatic 4-0 demolition of his former club Hull City away from home last weekend in the fourth round of the FA Cup. The Blues are pushing for a top 4, top 5 spot and they're away for Champions League qualification in the Premier League, having managed 8 victories and a draw in the 11 matches across all competitions since the arrival of Rosenior. just has seemed as though they may well be a glimmer of hope for a very poor Burnley side, but the Clarets thrown away all positivity, and the pressure is now increasing on the seemingly demoralized boss Scott Parker, having come from 2-0 down to defeat Crystal Palace by 3 goals to 2 at Selhurst Park. Burnley then suffered their own turnaround, losing 2-1 at home to League One side Mansfield Town at Turf Moor last weekend. Home advantage should ensure Chelsea are comfortable here, even away from home though, has generally been the case under Rossini. There is growing optimism from the fan base that they made an impressive appointment, but Burnley don't have that same fight or quality as Leeds United do, who fought back from 2-0 down to share a 2-2 draw with Chelsea at Stamford Bridge about 10 days ago, and a comfortable win is to be expected. Chelsea win for Chelsea all the way for me, 3-0. I can see Chelsea dominating that game from start to finish. And then 5:30 kickoff in their battle against the drop. West Ham United need to continue their fight with the visits of the mid-table AFC Bournemouth to the London Stadium this weekend. West Ham United were not as impressive as they've been recently last weekend, as they edged past League One side Burton Hove Albion by 1-0 after extra time, courtesy of a scenario Somerville strike. And that result means that the Irons have now endured 1 defeat in their last 7 matches across all competitions. That coming away at Chelsea, they've been 2-0 up at half time at Stamford Bridge, lost. FC Bournemouth have endured a mixed bag, but the Cherries appear to have come through the worst of it, as they now begins this weekend's round of fixtures back in the top half of the table, chasing European qualification. The visitors managed to defeat Everton by 2-1 at the Hill Dixon Stadium in their most recent outing, extending their current unbeaten run of form to 6 matches in the Premier League. Right, these are the two informed sides in the Premier League with differing aspirations. Even with their improved run of form, the Hammers still remain firmly inside the bottom 3 and relegation places. Bournemouth are closing on the gap on the top 7 or 8. Neither are necessarily close to achieving their respective goals, but they are improving. Both teams scoring should seem to be a good bet for this one in the east end of the capital city. But I'm going with home advantage to say the Hammers will win 2-1. And then 8 o'clock kickoff. For the second time this month, Manchester City host Newcastle United at the Etihad Stadium this time in the Premier League title races, headlining for the clash. As a result, for Arsenal dropping points against Brentford and Wolverhampton Wanderers since Manchester City last played, the hosts now 5 points behind the league leading Gunners with a game in hand, and their meeting at the Etihad still to come. City have the title race back in our own hands. However, despite their defiancy throughout this campaign, the hosts managed to make it 6 wins in their last 7 matches last week with a 2-0 defeat of Salford City in the 4th round of the FA Cup. As for Newcastle have been out of form throughout the last couple of months, but the Magpies appear to have worked things out a bit of the last 10 days ago with 3 successive victories on the road, having beaten Tottenham Hotspur away from home in the Premier League. Newcastle United then won away at Aston Villa in the FA Cup before a 6-1 demolition of Karabag in the knockout playoff of the UEFA Champions League in midweek. The longest trip that any English side have ever been on the Champions League is likely to take its toll for an already short and seemingly fragile Newcastle side. Despite the fact that they should now have some newfound confidence and belief, City defeated the visitors 3-1 in the EFL Cup earlier this month, but similar outcome appears most likely here. But I'm going for Man City to win by 3-1. 3-1. Right. On to Crystal Crystal Palace find themselves involved in a relegation battle as they now welcome the generally battling Wolverhampton Wanderers side to Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace coming into this one on the back of a very underwhelming performance in midweek as they shared a 1-1 draw in the Europa Conference League knockout playoff round tie. The home team coming into this one of some very poor form across all competitions, including a recent 3-2 loss at home to Burnley. The pressure is growing on Oliver Glasner, and Rob Edwards and his Wolverhampton Wanderers side are championship bound, but they have been able to show some real fight with 2 defeats in their last 10 matches across all competitions. Most recently, Wolves dented Arsenal title hopes in midweek as they came from 2-0 down to share a 2-2 draw in league leaders at Molineux, courtesy of a late gas equaliser scored by Tom Edozie. But this one is not expected to be a thriller for the neutral, but Glasner's best football comes when Palace play reactively on the counter-attack, but they have struggled to find much fluency. When playing against much more defensive teams, Wolves travelled down to the capital city showing fight, but still obviously lacking quality. So a low-scoring encounter appears likely for this one in Croydon. But I'm going for Palace to win 2-0, and I think they should have enough. Right. Nottingham Forest have started a new era, and it has started well, as they welcome and improve in the Liverpool side to the City Ground on Sunday. Victor Piore became the 4th manager of the campaign for Nottingham Forest after sacking the Sean Dyche, and his reign began in the UEFA Europa League in midweek, despite scraping against relegation in the Premier League. Home team coming into this one on the back an impressive 3-0 defeat of Fenerbahce in Instor on Thursday night in the first leg of their knockout round tie, with goals scored by Murillo, Morgan Gibbs-White and Igo Jesus. Liverpool coming into this one on the back of a 3-0 defeat of Brighton over Albion in the 4th round of the FA Cup last week. Courtesy of strikes scored by Curtis Jones, Dominic Szoboszlai and Mohamed Salah. And that backed up the Reds becoming the first team to win at the Stadium of Light a few days prior, with a Virgil van Dijk winner in the second half against Sunderland about 10 days or so ago. Nottingham Forest, with their home advantage, will fancy themselves to make things very awkward for the host. And Piore managed to immediately improve Wolves last season, propelled them away from danger. Very early sign from the other day is that he is capable of repeating that trick. Liverpool are playing well though, so both teams' scoring seems to be a good shout on Sunday. I'm going for Liverpool to win 2-0. Next up, Sunderland takes on Fulham with home advantage. Sunderland will fancy themselves get back on track this weekend as they welcome European chasing Fulham to the Stadium of Light. Sunderland scrambled to their first defeat at the Stadium of Light and their most recent outing in the Premier League just about 10 days or so ago, as they scrambled to a slender 1-0 loss at home to Liverpool. Since then, Regis de Breeze Black Cats have bounced back with a slender 1-0 defeat of Oxford United at the Newcastle Stadium in the 4th round of the FA Cup last weekend. Fulham, Marco Silva and his Fulham side are pushing for a top 7 or top 8 finish, a potential European qualification, but the Cottagers are underwhelming at the moment despite a cup come from behind defeat of Stoke City in the Cup last week. The West Londoners, prior to that victory in Staffordshire, had suffered 4 defeats in their previous 5 matches, leading to them slipping below Sunderland in the table ahead of this weekend's round of fixtures. But with these two sides, sitting firmly in mid-table ahead of the 27th match of the day in the campaign, Sunderland and Fulham will fancy themselves. Yes, boss. Why? Why, naturally? Continue. Advanced themselves to be quite content here. However, two teams could do well ensuring they aren't at all dragging into the very competitive and high points tally relegation battle. So both sides may well attack this game. It may be surprisingly fun for the neutral, but this game could be draw written all over it, and that's why I'm sitting on the fence with 1-1 draw. So this is a massive game in North London derby, perhaps one of the most eagerly anticipated clashes between Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal in quite a while. Since Tottenham Hotspur last played a 2-1 defeat to Newcastle United, the club have finally realised they are actually in a relegation battle and partnered company with Thomas Frank, replacing him with the former Juventus boss Ego Tudor. The Croat is known for making an impact at clubs, but as they did with Jude last season, they has done good work, but generally in most of his recent jobs, trying circumstances of both Alès and Marseille. And Arsenal are wobbling. The gap is 5 points, but Manchester City have a game in hand as well, as they being able to welcome to the Gunners to the Etihad Stadium in the spring. Mikel Arteta's Gunners are beginning to feel the pinch after dropping points away at Brentford about a week and a half ago. Arsenal gave up a 2-0 lead against Wolverhampton Wanderers in midweek, sharing a 2-2 draw with the Championship-bound Midlands club. Arsenal are still the favourites for all 4 competitions. They are still in, but the chances of them winning the quadruple in the way which they are playing at the moment seem very slim. Spurs will hope that their new Yes! What do you want? Can prevail them away from danger. And it has to be said, they have a risk of a step into an unknown as they try and move away from the bottom 3. Low scoring, nervy derby and day in store at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I could see Arsenal seeing enough, but I'm going for Arsenal to win 3-1. And then lastly, the Hill Dixon Stadium plays a host intriguing contest on Monday night as David Moyes take on Michael Carrick's Manchester United. Everton coming into this one of a much needed week off, having been eliminated for the FA Cup in the 3rd round, needing to calm down after their 2-1 loss at home to FC Bournemouth about a week and a half ago. Merseyside has been generally unimpressively in terms of their performance level, but to find themselves in contention for a top 7 or top 8 finish and potential European qualification this season. Manchester United have been much improved since the appointment of Michael Carrick, and the Red Devils are aiming for a return for the UEFA Champions League after 4 victories and a draw in his opening 5 matches. After 4 successive wins, the Red Devils putting in very much an underwhelming performance against a battling West Ham United. But an excellent Benjamin Sesko, ex-equaliser, did earn them a late point at the London Stadium. United played with a lot more fluency and cohesion in the final third. They all fancied themselves to be able to create a bit against Everton this weekend. The hosts have shown in some woeful performances and weirdly, especially at their new stadium too. But the big occasion does tend to suit at Moyes' team under the lights. So both teams scoring seems to be quite a good bet. And what should be a Monday evening treat. So I'm going through the goals here to say 2-2 draw. That's my predictions then for Premier League Week 27. Leave on your comments below. Will we see Arsenal dropping more points, this weekend on Sunday? We're about to see anyway. It should be some treats this weekend. Good night, everyone, and goodbye for now.